I would like to invite a leader who leads Everest Group's research and advisory initiatives in quality engineering, focusing on embedding quality across the software development lifecycle. Well, he drives strategic insights on AI in SDLC, value assurance, and systems of execution, helping enterprises adopt to the right skill, tools, and practices in the AI era. With prior experience in digital transformation and consulting at Sutherland Global Services and TCS, he brings a practitioner's perspective to his advisory work. He partners with enterprises, technology vendors, service providers, and investors to shape transformation roadmaps, benchmark performance, and deliver actionable strategies to enterprise success. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Ankit Gupta, Vice President, Everest Group.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Today, as we started this entire QE Conclave, I can see the positive vibe in the room, and that's really good to have from a QE vantage point, which has been lacking a little, to be very honest. As I was preparing for the session or the Connect today, I thought it's the right time because there are many of the individuals across the globe, our partners, clients, colleagues, who are celebrating Thanksgiving. And the reason it is more apt in today's construct is because if I just concise everything what Thanksgiving really stands for and apply it in today's context of QE Conclave, I get to 3 words. Let me start with the word that Melanie started off with, togetherness. This is a community, and that's how we have evolved so far. In services industry, I don't think there would be any individual who can be the torchbearer and run alone. You have to have a community, you have to shape trends, you have to challenge ideas, and that's how we elevate each other. That's how we ensure that there is tomorrow which is better than today. Gratitude. That's the core theme of Thanksgiving, and honestly, that's the core theme of today's discussion. The foundations of QE are so strong with the people in the room and beyond who all started all of this and the processes, as we were talking about a little time back. Any product that you go ahead and build needs quality engineering, and you cannot discount that, period. And that's how it will continue to be. And precisely for that reason, wherever we are, because of the people, teams who have done so much of hard work, created that kind of impact, we are indispensable. Let me just leave you with that. Third, reflection. Another core theme of Thanksgiving, and that's where today's entire session, at least from my vantage point, will revolve around. When we think about quality engineering in the world of AI, AI has significantly significantly impacted almost every work stream that we see. And so much so with quality engineering. That's not something which is not known to anyone. It's just that it is transforming at a rapid pace. We need to evolve as well. And that's where we are. What is there in today's context that can be brought to the table? And quality engineering should ensure that they are the leaders in this space as a team, right? So let me start with a quick round of context. When we think about in today's environment, where are we? We are living in a world, as I call, or as we call at Everest Group, in a world of perma-crisis. The crises are just not getting over. We started from 2019 onwards with supply chain crisis. Then we moved on to economy, the kind of economy state we are in, be it in terms of US, Europe is struggling, and so on and so forth. The things were just not ending. And then came the AI, which is another big thing, big moment, but it is creating significant troubles as well. In fact, the way we talked about BAU in IT services parlance, now it is CAU, which is crisis as usual in current times. And we certainly need one of the designations as Chief Firefighting Officers for sure, the new CFO that he or she would be called. With that, I think the role of CFO is certainly up for the grabs. So please do let me know if you want to discuss more on that when we think about firefighting. But let's just grasp the impact of AI in particular. When we think about AI, there are a lot of these small transformations that every individual, every team is running. And there is this agentic wave which is now taking over. At the bottom of it, from our vantage point, what we are saying is we are transitioning from systems of records, which used to be the databases and others, ERP systems of the world, to systems of interaction, which we transitioned in, let's say, 2000s with the websites and so on and so forth, which was basically an interface wherein all the users were interacting, stakeholders were keeping pace with the necessary processes, data, and so on, to now systems of execution, which means an autonomous system which can take care of certain things without even human interventions. Sure, it sounds good, great, but still that needs to be tested. And that's where the emergence and the importance of QE should be rising from here on as we think about it. It did take a backseat due to the rush of agility and the digital transformation over the last 3-4 years. Then came the AI wave when we talked about the entire automation wave will kill the manual testers, I think, which was mentioned earlier. But as we move along, it's going to change the shape and format with regards to the systems that we will be developing. And that's where we are talking about systems of execution. Just to put some more light and details around it, that's what I was talking about on the leftmost side, the individual BYO AI. That's where you are focusing on human interaction, augmentation of capabilities, and so on and so forth. Then you talk about the tech stack AI, which is supercharging the entire stack with process efficiencies, with better workflows, better UX, and so on and so forth. But the transition where we are going ahead, and that's where the real unlock of AI will really happen. That's the systems of execution. When we think about agentifying the earlier systems, systems of record, systems of engagement, as I was defining earlier. Now, if we were to do it, that's where the RoI will really kick in. Now, it's not something that enterprise clients, our clients, partners really do not understand. It's just about the lack of two things primarily. And the first thing there is this particular one, the readiness part of it. The readiness part of it. Think about AI as this Lamborghini, Porsche, Ferrari, whatever supercar you can think of. You are driving in a very crowded city. Now, you cannot get to the full steam and full speed because of the infrastructure out there. And that's what AI is. AI is a good fancy technology, but you need to create an readiness, you need to create enterprise readiness around it to create the infrastructure which ensures that the vehicle that you have chosen gets to its full speed. And that's the most important thing. So point one, readiness. It's not about the money at this stage. Every AI startup that you can think of is raising billions of dollars every now and then. So from an enterprise vantage point, if they get the value, they will certainly invest into things. And from a readiness vantage point, we call it as PTSD. The infrastructure as we were thinking about, let's break it down. What does that mean? So you have laggard processes, which are not really up to the mark, AI-friendly, and so on and so forth. The talent needs to be upskilled, reskilled, and so on and so forth. Systems needs to be rewritten, and that's what we were talking about earlier, how we move and evolve from there. And the data, the most important element of AI, the data needs to be taken care of. A lot of the organization in current context really do not know where and what kind of data do they have right now. Leave aside the insights and then on top of it AI. So unless we take care of these fundamental things, as I said, PTSD, process, talent, system, and data, nothing can evolve. And of course, there would be evolution, but it would be on a slow pace, at a very, very slow pace. Then comes the trust part. And that's where I would want every one of you to take a note of it, where and how quality engineering can play a role. So once you ready the system as well, the odds are so high, unless you drive significant momentum towards building trust, people will not invest volumes of money which would really transform the things for them. And when we break down the trust part, I'll leave the left side on this particular page because it's largely with regards to the productivity mandate, which we know and everyone probably in the room takes care of and understands. And QE has been written off multiple times, at least in my tenure when we think about association with IT services and so on and so forth. But every time it has researched stronger, and that's where we still believe from here on the positive momentum towards QE will continue. And that's the reason on the right, the topmost words. When we think about AI, the way we are acting is it as if it is an alien intelligence. The way we are calling it is an artificial intelligence. So once these two things collapse and work together, that the alien intelligence becomes assured intelligence, that's when the majority of investments will really kick in. So that's the journey that we are talking about, which will funnel in the QE renaissance. And from alien intelligence to assured intelligence, once enterprises get to that, you will see a lot more momentum in the investments that we are talking about. And the reasons are plain and simple. There are significant output variations. There can be only one or two ways to do a thing right. The others are probably not right or a deviation which enterprises would not want. The second part and the last news element that is highlighted there. So from OpenAI, the startup which is really taking everything by the wave, the co-founders or some of the starting folks who have now chosen to get on the bandwagon of starting something new are focusing on safety elements, assurance elements. And if that wave is to be continued and to be believed, that's where we are seeing billions of dollars now flowing in. So it's top down, that's where the money is flowing, and that's where the evolution really will be from a QE vantage point. Now, if the trust is something that QE needs to be taken care of, that's one more sack on the back, which QE has already too many, by the way. So if that is something that we are talking about, what is the next of QE? So the objectives are really simple. The way in which currently they are defined, that you know what, you need to assure the product quality, we need to assure the operational outcomes. But now what we are talking about is the value getting delivered, the assurance in terms of the operational outcomes. That's what we need to move towards. A scope of influence, it was more of a gatekeeper till very last. Then we talked about agile, DevOps, and so on and so forth, wherein it got shifted left to a certain extent, but that too lot in terms of theoretical vantage point, less from practical, which we are seeing now changing. But going forward, it needs to be not just left, not just right, across the value chain. Right from discovery, deal, design to deploy. That's what we are saying QE should evolve. The reason discovery becomes important because developers are not necessarily the right individuals to talk about what aim or what value that we are going ahead with eventually, and then ensure the governance that the value that the enterprise has been seeking for is being met across different stages. That's the job of quality engineering folks. And hence, you need to be contributing right from the word go when the deal is being constructed. The success matrix, of course, the usuals will remain. The newer ones with regards to bias, safety, confidence will really kick in. And that has to do a lot more with the models in play as we move along. Where all would it impact? I'll go back to the PTSD thing that we were discussing earlier. Processes, talent, systems, and debt. Everything needs to be impacted across the value chain is what we are saying. Consult, build, and run. And the run part was usually ignored when I talked about being shifting left. The right part also becomes critical because then you are ensuring in the world of AI, where we are talking about continuous evolutions of systems, processes, and so on and so forth, that the quality engineering team ensures the guardrails are being met. So as we think about structuring quality, probably it should be like blue lines and red lines, wherein blue lines are defined by individual teams and the red lines are defined by corporates. And that's where the guardrails will become a lot more important as we pursue more safe, trustworthy systems going forward. When we think about AI, the one element with all of this that we are trying to tone down, reduce, is the element of surprises. The moment we tone down the element of surprises, the impact will become exponential. That's the basic foundational point that we want to talk about. So why should QE evolve? And that's the reason I was talking about the red line and blue line concept. And whenever it has been done by any enterprise in any aspect, they have been able to achieve a lot more than the other enterprises who haven't taken care of quality with that focus, that importance, and the structure that we are talking about. Wherein you cannot sideline quality engineering for the sake of it, that it acts like a gatekeeper, but ensuring that, you know what, next here is what quality needs to approve, then only it can run into systems. And just closing it out on this particular page, when we are going ahead with any AI-based systems as of now the cursor is out, by the way, from an application development vantage point. I am sure you guys have been talking to the developer friends, and they say, you know what, you just prompt it up, it gives you the entire code with the structure, architecture, all taken care of. Trust me, when they are saying this, they are not going in the depth of understanding what is being generated. And that is what the surprises are eventually. At least in the earlier versions, you were trying to get to a code with a code snippet, and you copy-pasted it, so you read it. Currently, in the cursor world, and probably fast forward in some of the next versions that will come forward, you will not even read the code that is being generated. So if that's what developer is going ahead with, I'm sure testing would have a lot more important job to do and take care of than today. So, and the issue with that thing is developer cannot do that job. They cannot break the code. It's not the mindset. Once the functional flow will be accurate, they will just go ahead and submit and deploy it on the whatever cluster that you might have. So what it takes to make it real and eventually quality engineering as an organization to deliver, quality engineering as teams to deliver. So I'll just leave you with this last page from my vantage point. People process technology is the acronym or way in format in which we have been talking about for way too many years. I think now as we gravitate towards AI, we have seen the transition happening from the same people working a little differently with a newer skill set, with a different mindset and tool set, and delivering the job, getting through with the task. And that's what we are trying to say. In terms of quality function, to evolve it as an expanded mandate, and I am summarizing that expanded mandate of limiting surprises, working across the value chain, not shift left, not shift right, across the value chain, and taking care of those biases and confidence-related postures, which we have not been doing so far. If you were to do it, you need a different skill set. We all know we have been working on that in terms of what next future-ready skill sets looks like. The mindset needs to be shifted, wherein we are talking about impact generated. It's not about whether the operational flow is being done, taken care of or not. It's about the impact that the application would have. Because if one thing goes wrong in this AI era, it would be multifold. It would be a multifold impact than you would have usually seen otherwise. Because as fast the speed of change is, the more pronounced the impact would be it success or failure. And that's where failures cannot be taken lightly, and hence the overall QE mandate is evolving. Eventually, the toolset part, I'm sure many others following me would be speaking about how the toolsets are evolving. And from a vantage point wherein how we should be leveraging those toolsets, how we can make the delivery which is really off the box, you can take care of certain automation things. The tool set will also become a lot more of a platform going forward. It's not like individual tool set working in silos, but they need to be orchestrated in a way that the entire QE chain is really orchestrated. With that, I think this would be a wrapper slide. Future readiness is about the agility that the organization can demonstrate and the AI impact that it can deliver. AI success, it will be engineering trust, as we started off this conversation with, which is a function of investments minus PTSD debt. Because the more debt you have, the lesser be the impact, and the lesser would be your AI success, and eventually future readiness will be zilch. Overall, quality 360, as we think about it from our own community perspective, as we step up into a new flourishing era and we go ahead with it, skill set, mindset, and tool set should evolve, and there are no two ways about it. It must continue. That's a treadmill, believe it or not, like it or not, but it has to be done. And hence, we need to just go ahead, do certain things in a different manner as it is needed in today's context. That's all from my side. Thank you so much. I am okay to have any questions if there are. We are good?
Well, we do have a minute to take any questions that is coming Ankit's way. Yes, can we have a mic, please? Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Ankit, for those insight. It was good to see that we QEs have still some sort of future, but I do have a conflicting question on your presentation. In one of the slide you mentioned, ServiceNow has removed the QE vertical. I come from a company, I'm a senior engineering manager. I was managing almost 30 QE engineers. Last quarter, all were restructured or removed. I see that now all the dependency of quality is coming to the developers because one, it's cost effective. You are hiring a developer who can develop and they can do the quality by using different tools. Where do you see QE? Where do you see the QE world?
Sure. So I couldn't get your name, please. Can you repeat?
I didn't tell you my name, sorry. It's Meetu.
Meetu.
Yeah.
Thank you, Meetu. Wonderful question, and that's the paradox which I wanted to highlight on this particular page. You literally spotted that. So, yes, all the productivity game is happening, and there are no two ways about it, and that's true. That's factual. Having said all of it, this is not long-term sustainable. QE has been written off not once, not twice, I don't know how many times in the entire 15, 20 years of services. It focused industry from an agility or whatever perspective that you might want to look at it. Now, as we move along, there are three things which I'll request you to consider when we are thinking about future of QE. One, the developers that we talked about do not have the mindset. And the cursor example which I alluded to was exactly on that. They just want to ensure that the functional flow is completed. And once it is done, it is someone else's problem. The run guys, as they say. Yes, there are teams which are now being persistent and product-led operating and so on and so forth. But enterprises are not really buying that, number one. Number two, these are avenues to free up investments so that people can really operationalize those investments into driving AI. Currently, the AI impact hasn't been seen. If that was to be seen, and prompt was the way to develop code or generate applications, probably quality engineering folks are better to do so because you have a lot more business context than any developer for that matter. So it's a chalk and cheese at this point in time to talk about, okay, this is where we need to place our bets in. But if prompt has to do everything, why not one with the business context runs it all? The third point is, if enterprises were that confident about automation and taking care of entire quality engineering spectrum, the amount of investments would have been way too pronounced than they are currently. The reason is plain and simple, they do not have trust. The trust deficit is so much underrated in current context. Had they trusted the AI-generated code so much, why wasn't it being deployed every now and then? Yes, the technology will evolve, but so would be the needs and the corporate readiness needs to be evolved of the systems. And that's where quality engineering from a trust vantage point should play a very pivotal role going forward. All of what you said, I completely agree and respect that, and that's where the ServiceNow example is also coming in, because QE is being discounted. It cannot be discounted far from here on, because we are already operating at a laser-thin margin, if you will. We have to make a comeback and establish that trust so that AI can scale. I'll just leave the entire room with one anecdote. Just consider if any human life-related accident happens due to AI-generated code or system, all of the investments in AI will just stall, because the trust deficit will just drop, and it will take us like 3 to 5 years back. So if it has to continue, trust needs to establish, and for that, assurance needs to be done. And that's where the word there, alien. Currently, we are operating in an alien intelligence where we don't know what it can offer. We need to get into an assured intelligence, and that's where we'll see a lot more impact, not just from our vantage point, but for the world, from the technology vantage.